Right now, the internet is blowing up with people talking about how Joseph Duggar has been arrested, and I'm always appalled by how nasty people get, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook. People will say things like, you Duggars are trash, you're all vile people, we've good to see you go, and people will drop f-bombs and say, you guys don't deserve to have your children, good riddance, we're glad to see you in jail, hope the rest of you goes. And I'm not surprised by any of this, but I'm always appalled. And I wanted to make this video because the reactions that these stories get, whether it's, what happened with Josh or what happened more recently with Joseph, it seems like it brings out the worst in people. And everyone talks about how these men are such vile creatures and they deserve to be abolished from the face of the earth. But I'm willing to bet that a lot of these people who get this nasty have their own addictions, whether it's with pornography or maybe X and R-rated movies. I mean, who knows? But somehow, because these are celebrities that people hate, everyone talks about how they're fundamentalist Christians and they're hypocritical and toxic and all that. And because they've been arrested, this just gives people a chance to fire off and to gloat. The truth is that we should all be heartbroken right now because this young family is being torn apart, with the father potentially going to prison and Kendra, the mother, was arrested, which doesn't even make sense to me. I'm sure she's innocent of anything that Joseph did. I mean, they're talking about how apparently when the authorities investigate their house, they found locks on the outside of the children's doors, which counts as false imprisonment. If you ask me, though, the authorities had no business barging into their home. I mean, once Joseph was taken away, the children wouldn't even be in any danger. But, I can't even imagine how terrified Kendra must be right now with her husband in prison, and she was just recently bailed out. And those poor children, they can't see their father right now. Who knows if they'll ever see him again. It's just so awful and so tragic on many different levels. And some people are reacting appropriately to these circumstances, but the vast majority of people are just so ecstatic to see yet another Duggar going to prison. And it's atrocious. I grew up watching 17 Kids and Counting, and then there was 18 Kids and Counting, and then 19 Kids and Counting. And I'm definitely not a fan of IBLP, and I'm Catholic, as you know, so there's a lot of things that the Duggars say that I disagree with. But regardless of whether we agree with them or not, we can't just take the attitude of being triumphant because one of them is going to prison. And anyone who's getting pleasure out of this incident with Joseph's arrest by just shooting off at the Duggars with nasty words and insulting them and spewing out hatred is not being any better than these acts of crime that they pretend to be against. I think these reactions show how hypocritical people are and how much people are filled with hatred, and really these people have no business being active online. If that's just what they're coming on to do, is to just attack people, then just get off. Really, just shut up or ship out. But the message that I want everyone to take from my video is we need to pray a lot for Joseph's family, for Kendra to have the strength and the support that she needs during this time, and for the children to receive the kind of comfort they need. They all must be suffering terribly. There's no way we can even imagine what they're going through unless we've been through something similar. And Joseph needs prayers too, obviously, because he's not in a good state. And this may sound absurd to some people, but I feel pity for him as well, because it's a terrible affliction to be bound in the shackles of lust. Even if you brought it on yourself, it's a terrible affliction. And believe me, I'm just as sickened by these crimes of Josh and Joseph as everybody else is, because child pornography and pedophilia are some of the most horrific crimes that can happen on the face of the earth, and it's not to be taken lightly, and I'm always glad when justice is served in these cases, and pedophiles should not be walking the streets. But the fact remains that we have to hate the crime and not the criminal, and it is absolutely insufficient for us to just be angry and complain about these things without trying to do some good to counter the effects of what has happened. And we can do that by praying for the victims in these situations. We should definitely be praying for that little girl who was molested by Joseph and will have to testify against him. That must be very frightening for her, and it must have taken a lot of courage for her to come forward after more than 5 years of silence. So everyone, please pray for Joseph and Kendra and their children right now. They desperately need our prayers, and that is a much, much better use of our time than simply going on social media to have a rant. So, thank you for watching, and God bless you, and I'll see you on the next one.